Hey everybody, it's PJ from Wisconsin Airgunners. It's another beautiful day here in Central Florida, and I've got an opportunity to spend some time on the bench today with the Niksan Airguns Archero. This one is in 25 cal, and it puts out around 35 foot-pounds of energy. So we're talking about 25 grain pellets flying between 840, and I would probably refill when they get around the high 700s. It's an interesting air gun, and I think there are people out there who are going to really like it. I'll be honest, it is not probably the first air gun I would go to go out doing some pest control. However, if I had a cabin, if I needed an air gun that was going to be ready to rock at a moment's notice, dead simple in both construction, configuration, and maintenance and repair, if it ever needs it, the Archero has that going for it. So what is it exactly? It is 8 pounds. It is a solidly built steel air gun. You have a shrouded barrel. Be honest, the shroud does not do a whole lot to reduce muzzle report. It's just not constructed for that. It's actually constructed a little more to give you the opportunity to tension the inner barrel. I have a Donnie FL Tatsu on it, and while we're on the subject, this video is sponsored by Donnie FL. Donnie FL is the importer for the Niksan rifles, and I work for Donnie FL. So I'm fortunate that my employer is okay with me talking honestly about the stuff that I get to review from the shop, and that's why I'm bringing this to you today, just to give you my, well, maybe more than 2 cents on it. It's solidly built. It's 8 pounds with this little scope. I've put a SIG Romeo 5 on it. I got this on a Black Friday deal a couple of years ago. It's a nice dot. I put the little shorty mount on to try to keep this as low to the barrel as possible, and we'll get to the reason for that in a little bit. We're going to do a trigger weight test in just a minute. It's a side lever action rifle. It has, in 25 cal, a 9-round magazine. I would recommend you're filling this gun to 200 bar after every second magazine. And, well, more on how I would shoot it in a little bit. It has a very sturdy polymer stock. It has a push button adjustable cheek piece, and it's for those of you who really like to shoot a traditionally styled rifle. That's exactly what it is. You have molded Picatinny up front so you can put a bipod on. I've got Scandinavian arms bipod there, which I love for doing this kind of testing. Let's talk about velocity before we get into the trigger weight. When I shot I shot a couple of strings, but the one where I filled it up and then ran it down, this is where I think this air gun has a place. If you just look at one magazine, you have a spread of about, the first magazine, that's 9 rounds, you go from a high of 843 to a low of 800. Now this is a very small steel cylinder. It's only filled to 200 bar, which means it's not horrible for hand pumping. It's got a fairly low volume of air, and I'd have to check the specs, but somewhere in the 200 cc's range. Again, if I had to hand pump, Frankly, I'd rather have a small, relatively low pressure cylinder because that's just going to be that much more manageable. But the first 9 shots go from 843 to 800. It's a fairly straight curve, and it's an unregulated PCP, so you have to expect that. Before I go any further into talking about my methods for testing this rifle, I just want to point out that this is the United States specification model, and when Donnie FL and PCP Kong worked with Niksan Airguns to bring this model to the US for 22 and 25 caliber, they did specify a stronger hammer spring. And so as you look at these chronograph numbers, you see a pretty distinct drop off, which is not the case on the standard spring model, which have more of a traditional shot curve where you get a little bit more consistency. But for the power hungry demands of the US market, that's what was specified. And if you're picking up one of these air guns in the US, this is the velocity curve you're going to see. The second magazine, the first shot was 787, and that dropped then all the way down on the 18th shot to 721. So you're talking about like 65 feet per second in that second magazine. But when I look at 3 shots at a time, any given 3 shots, from 1 to 3, we're talking about a 10 foot per second spread. Four, 5, and 6, you're looking at a 20 foot per second spread. 7, 8, 9, you're looking at a 7 foot per second spread. So no matter where you are in terms of air pressure, you have a pretty consistent 3-shot spread. And so I'm thinking about this air gun as it's ready to go whenever you're ready to go. This could be in a case, unloaded, but aired up in a trunk for months, if not years on end, and ready to go when you pull it out. This thing is built like a tank. I have no question about whether it would survive a drop. I have no question about whether it would survive a drop into a mud puddle or lake or something along those lines. Clean it off, clean it out, back in business, ready to go. It does come with a full rebuild kit, so any of the O-rings that are inside it, you get those. It does have a fill probe, but you get extra O-rings for that. You've got Picatinny rails up top. It's got a lot going for it, but I think the bigger question is going to be, can it shoot? Now with the red dot, I'm not expecting to shoot 100-yard targets. In fact, today we're going to shoot out to 25. But what I want to see is with this red dot mounted low to the bore, will it give me acceptable pesting accuracy 25 yards and in? And if it can do that, I can probably stretch to 30 and maybe even 35. So I've got this red dot zeroed pretty close, at least as close as I can, shooting a red dot with old eyes at 20 yards. And what I'm going to do after we do the trigger pull test is set the target at 25. We're going to shoot a 3-shot group. We're going to move it into 20, 3-shot group, move it into 15, and into 10. And we're going to see how much variance we get across those shots, because I really want to see, could this be the cabin gun that I don't have to worry about whether it gets cold in the wintertime or hot in the summertime. It's not a super significant investment if somebody comes by and breaks in. I'm not leaving a loaded firearm laying around or a firearm around where someone could steal it. I think this has applications as a in-the-trunk gun. In fact, I did a presentation for law enforcement a couple of weeks ago There are some parts of the country where if they do something as mundane as draw their firearm to put down a wounded deer, they have to write significant reports, and in some cases have to go in for blood tests and things like that, because they've just written the rules to say if you discharge your firearm on duty, here's what you have to do. I'm not against the accountability for stuff like that, but that maybe makes somebody hesitate when they should dispatch an animal. And my belief is that there's every possibility that, and I'm not saying you can hunt deer with a 25 caliber air gun, but a wounded animal that is suffering, being able to put a 35 foot-pound piece of lead out at point blank range is going to ease that animal's suffering. That's my position. So I think there's a place for this. It might not be your primary air gun, but it might be one that you want to look at for a specific use case. And as you and I and everybody else watching the video knows, we don't just have one air gun. So let's take a look at this trigger pull. £1 pound, 4 ounces. £1 pound, 11.5 ounces. £1 pound, 8.5 ounces. So that averages out at 1 pound, 8 ounces. Honestly, that's pretty decent for a budget air gun. It does have an adjustable shoe. It's got kind of the post and shoe style trigger, and there is some adjustment in terms of moving it up, down, or canting it left and right. The side lever is, I mean, you can feel the spring in there, but it's not gritty. I just say you can feel the spring. You can decock the rifle. I mentioned earlier that the magazines are 9 rounds in 25. This rifle is also available in 22, and I think those magazines are either 11 or 12. But you do get 4 magazines in the case with the rifle. It also comes with like a keychain, cleaning cloth, some stuff like that. So you do get a fair number of things. I should say the one other thing that's probably more on the useful side, it comes with a front post grip, which I wouldn't ever use on a rifle like this, but you push a button on it and 2 feet spring out, so you can use it as kind of a bipod. Here's what we're going to do. I've got a target out at 25 yards. I'm going to put a camera on it, and we're going to shoot 3-shot groups at 25, 20, 15, and then 10, using the red dot, not making any adjustments to the optics, and I'm not going to hold over or under. What we're going to see is how far, with a 20-yard zero, how far off, up or down are we, and do we have an air gun that could be usable in all these close to middle pesting ranges with just a simple red dot ready to go. So when that American red squirrel is taking a look at your log cabin for a spot to chew itself in, you can be ready to take that shot. All right, target is set up downrange. Let's see what she does. Okay, we're going to bring the target back in to 20 yards and take the next 3 shots. Well, the wind's starting to pick up a little bit, so hopefully that doesn't become a factor. All right, there's 3 shots at 20, and now we're going to bring it into 15. All right, here we are at 15 yards. I like 15 yards because I can actually see the box pretty decently through the red dot. Let's bring it into 10. New magazine time. And 10 yards. That one went just low. I'm not 100% sure if that was me or if that's descending, so I'm going to take one more. I think that low shot was me, so alright. I think we could go 30. I don't know that that'll tell us a ton. I'm gonna go 35 and let's see what happens. If you've never seen one of these magazines loaded, it's pretty typical. You rotate the front cover all the way around, drop one in backwards, and then just feed the rest through head first. Not the fanciest magazines out there, but it gets the job done. Okay, so we're at 35 yards. We know, because we're 12 shots in, that the velocity is down. So it's going to be a real test of how much drop at these ranges are we really talking about? We're still north of 35 foot-pounds, but the velocity has dropped, and at some point out to the distance, that will result in a point of impact shift down. So I would just also say 35 yards, I'm shooting a red dot. It's not like I think my camera's at risk, but that 2 MOA dot is, with the little bit of light halo around it, pretty much is taking up that whole, what's a 2-inch square on the target. I'm shooting right for the center of the target. So we'll see how it does. It's a little bit of, call it lens flare on this red dot, and it kind of makes it hard to find the center of that box. That doesn't actually look too bad. Let's go down and take a look. So we're down at the target. You guys just saw it. This is our 25 yards. This is our 20 yards. And then this was 15, and this was 10. I think that lowest one might have been on me. But then we went out to 35, and I think this was first. I think that was second. I think that might have been third. But look at that, just stringing. We do have some left to right wind today, but that is dead even. And I was trying as best I can with the red dot to just hold right in the center of that. Wow, that is a way better result than I anticipated. I'm really happy about that. Well, I'm back from downrange, and I'll be honest with you, I am a little bit more impressed with how this turned out. I was not expecting the results to be this positive. I know this gun is a tank. It's a proven rough and tumble. You can, if you run out of pellets, throw it at something. It's that kind of sturdy gun. I wasn't sure what the accuracy was going to be like, and I find myself pleasantly surprised. The trigger pull is, pound and a half, and that's pretty good for a budget air gun. You get the pick rail out front, and you get an adjustable comb. As far as traditional rifle stocks go, I don't know that you get all that much more. It's not fancy laminate or walnut, but I don't think you'd be buying this gun to make it a wall hanger. I think you'd be buying this gun because you want rough and tumble, you want simplicity, and you want durability. If there's a gun that I think today, if somebody said, hey, if everything's going to, that's my channel. I can say what I want. If everything's going to hell, what gun do you want to make sure you have around? This paired with a hand pump is a pretty good combination in terms of being able to put food on the table for your family. In fact, I had a customer just emailed me through our message system the other day asking about that. And I said, I think an Archero would be a good choice. It might have been a little premature, but I'm glad I gave him that advice now, because I think I think the combination of a relatively small cylinder that operates at relatively low pressure, making it fairly easy to hand pump, and then the ability to have a very simple, wide open sighting system, and minute of squirrel, minute of rabbit accuracy without messing around. Don't get me wrong, I dial for everything. I love having magnification. It helps me shoot way better. But if I had to be in an environment where, missing or not getting a shot off on time meant I didn't eat, a red dot has definite application. And out to 35 yards, I mean, that's a little bit of wind push, but that's, even with the velocity dropping, still over 35 foot-pounds, and you're getting that kind of right on the line performance. So this is 25 yards. This is 20, right where I had it zeroed. This was 15 yards. And this was actually 4 shots. I think I dropped that one a little bit because the next one went up a little bit. But, all those within the 1-inch box and out to 35, I'm not going to tell you that's under an inch, because it's not. It's over an inch. But they're all directly on the line. That's either wind or me not seeing the dot perfectly within the target. This gun is certainly capable of putting a bigger optic on it and getting the accuracy going further down range. But I think this gun's niche, however you want to pronounce that, I think the place that this gun would shine would be in that kind of, I need that one gun to be at the cabin, ready to go all the time. Throw a little red dot on it. I will have an opportunity to talk to the folks at Niksan, because that opportunity comes up from time to time. This is one gun that I actually wish had iron sights. I wish they had notched the Picatinny, because I think you could make a pretty cool rear notch, and I think you could weld. Imagine this. I know some people will roll their eyes at me, but imagine welding on a bead sight on something like this, where you're looking right down the top of the bore for no battery needed, quick acquisition. I think that'd be pretty cool. Or maybe go crazy and put a fiber optic down front and give yourself a notch. Or man, if you're really talking crazy, put a peep sight on the back, and I think you'd have a real winner of a non-big magnification air gun. Something that you can certainly knock around. So, are there things I don't like? Well, yeah, everybody wants big shot count, and it's not the most powerful air gun out there, but I think we've proven that it has some decent accuracy credentials. I would love to have a regular Foster fitting instead of the fill probe, though for me, putting the fill probe in and just leaving it in, and maybe putting a dust cap over it, is a workable solution. I don't think I'll pull that out of there. As it comes from the factory, it's loud. I put a Tatsu on there, and that brings it down to what I would consider backyard friendly. It's got Picatinny rails. You can put whatever you want on there. It comes with 4 magazines. Sorry, I think I was talking about things I don't like. Let me rewind. I would prefer a Foster fitting. The probe is workable. It's got the gauge at the front, which is pretty common for guns in this price point. Nobody's a fan of that, but you can work with it. Every once in a while, the push button on the cheek release, it's almost like it gets a bad idea and it doesn't want to release. If I do it with 2 hands, that doesn't happen. If I try to adjust it one-handed, it's where it usually causes problems for me. But it is a very functional, secure lockup, and in the end, I've been able to work with it. Other than that, there's not really much not to like. 4 magazines, good trigger, cocking is reasonably smooth. You do have a power adjuster on it. I wish they put little detents in there, because if you do want to use the power adjuster, you kind of have to hope you can get it back into the exact same spot. It's not one where it's easy and repeatable. So I guess I'd put that on the negative side. But for today's testing, and I think in any use case I can come up with, I would leave that wide open. I would not be necking down that power. Other than that, you know, yeah, you could want a bigger air cylinder and you could want higher operating pressures, but my opinion on this, you want a different gun at that point. This is really a rough and tumble. I mean, it's not short like everybody's wild, myself included, wild about a truck gun that's really small and compact. This isn't that, but this is the kind of air gun that could be in a case, a hard case, a soft case, ready to go at a moment's notice, because you need to take a shot on something quickly. And it could certainly survive the environments where you maybe wouldn't want to put something that you just dropped $800, $1,000, $2,000 on, because it's just not in that price point. It does have a lot of steel in the construction, so I would probably take a little ballistol every now and again and wipe it down. I think that's a good protection on your investment. But yeah, I think I have a significantly higher opinion of the Archero than I did maybe just a couple hours ago. So if you're interested, either the Pellet Shop or Donnie FL websites, you could order these in 22 or 25 today. I hope you've enjoyed the video, found it useful. Maybe where you are there isn't bright sunshine and blue skies. Maybe I brought a little of that to you. But until the next one, folks, shoot safe, shoot straight, and I'll see you around.